Sawadika, and good afternoon to our audiences listening at home and at work. Today is Wednesday, the 19th of January, 2022, and this is the English language summary of the daily press briefing by the Center for COVID-19 Situation Administration, or CCSA. Let me recap for our English language audiences right away some key points that were discussed this morning and that have been extensively covered in the media to address some of the related queries you may have and to offer what I hope will be some useful clarifications and confirmations. The first topic then concerns the review of measures for entering the country. Namely, it was discussed, as you have read in the news, that certain measures would be relaxed and certain measures would be resumed. A decision will be taken tomorrow in the General Meeting of the CCSA, which will be chaired by the Prime Minister, and we will have an update for you following that briefing. Let me reiterate that in the interagency meetings, the factors are very carefully weighed so that we may continue to adhere to the government's policy of gradual reopening, as well as to balance the equally important considerations of public health and safety and reviving the economy. The second topic that was discussed just now was the readjustment of COVID control measures, and there will also be some important updates for you after tomorrow's General CCSA meeting. The third topic that was discussed extensively was the global and regional situation of COVID. In particular, the acute rise in infections due to the Omicron variant, which in Europe in particular is coupled with the regular flu season, leading to what is called or being called the twindemic. This continues to be worrisome, and domestically, therefore, hospitals in Thailand are preparing and continue to prepare for many possible different scenarios very seriously. Let's return now to our regular updates that will be of interest, of course, to those following the COVID situation in general, as well as efforts to reopen the country. And we are starting with an update, as usual, on the arrival of travelers. There will be a slide coming up for you, which reflects that during the 1st to the 18th of January 2022, 130,355 international travelers entered Thailand. Of this number, the majority, or 64,927 travelers, entered via the Test and Go or quarantine exemption scheme. 45,895 international travelers entered via the Sandbox scheme, and the remaining 19,533 travelers entered with alternative quarantine. The majority of international travelers come from the following top 10 countries of origin during this same time period, namely Russia, Germany, the US, the UK, France, Sweden, Japan, Australia, Denmark, and the UAE. Let's turn now to another slide reflecting the general situation of COVID infections in the country, and you see there are new confirmed cases today, logging in at 7,122 cases. In the Thai briefing just now, it was mentioned that many of these cases are from spending time in restaurants and entertainment venues, which unfortunately most are poorly ventilated areas. We have the total number of confirmed cases accumulated thus far at 2,344,933 cases. Recoveries, happily outpacing that number of new confirmed cases. Recoveries are at 7,460 cases, and unfortunately still logging in fatalities at 12 cases. Although the silver lining here is that the number of fatalities is quite low. On screen now, for this next slide, you will see the top 10 provinces with COVID-19 cases. Again, the number in green represents a number that's less than the previous day. Number in red is unfortunately more than the previous day. So we're seeing more red than green today, which is unfortunate. So you see Bangkok there with the highest number of reported cases, to be followed by Samut Prakan, Chonburi, Phuket, Nonthaburi, and the list goes on. Let me now turn to the progress in vaccinations. Yesterday, we administered 481,828 doses of vaccines, which brings the total accumulated number to over 110 million doses. That number translates into 72% of the total population having received the first dose, while the percentage of the total population with a second dose stands at 66.3%. 14.9% of the population has received a booster dose. And let me here underline the importance of getting your booster dose, although there is no guarantee that the COVID-19 vaccinations can completely protect people from getting infected with the virus, as we have seen with a number of cases. But according to a number of studies worldwide, every type of COVID-19 vaccine can reduce the rate of severe illness, hospitalization, and death from disease. The booster dose is considered very important to boost immunity, particularly when immunity in our body naturally decreases after the second shot of the vaccine. And now, in this time, when we are fighting with the latest mutant variant, the Omicron. The National Vaccine Institute, as a matter of fact, is urging 3 main target groups in particular to get the booster dose. First being frontline personnel who have been vaccinated with 3 doses for more than 3 months. The second group are risk groups, which includes the elderly, patients with chronic diseases, and pregnant women. And the third, in the general public, those who have been vaccinated with 2 doses for more than 3 months. Of course, apart from the booster vaccine, wearing a mask, keeping a physical distance, and frequent hand washing are still highly recommended to prevent infections and the spread of COVID-19. Once again, those who wish to receive the booster can still do so at the Bang Sue Central Vaccination Center, as the center has extended the Pfizer vaccination service free of charge as a booster shot. The request for the booster can still be made through mobile phone providers such as AIS, True, DTAC, and NT. Before closing today, please remain confident that we are doing our very best to ensure the safety of everyone in Thailand. We have tried to find a delicate balance between keeping our guard up against the pandemic and reviving the economy. So tomorrow, a meeting of the CCSA that is going to be chaired by the Prime Minister, we will be discussing important measures related to entry into the country and measures that we have been implementing to control the pandemic. We will update you immediately following that meeting on important developments. That is all I have for today. Thank you for tuning in, and สวัสดีค่ะ
ครับขอบพระคุณนะครับ